Hi, this is Wendy from Wendy Sinclair's Art. Welcome to the making of my latest abstract called Earth and Sea. I'm really pleased with how this one turned out. It's got a variety of mark making and just beautiful colours. I'm really inspired by the colours that I see on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia, and that's what basically drove me to do this abstract. So sit back and enjoy. I'm mostly just doing a voiceover and talking you through the process, but hopefully you'll get a glimpse of all the layers and different things that I did in this project. So I started as I usually do. I love to free myself up by just doing some mark making. I absolutely love mark making. I find that it's really interesting when a few of those squiggles and different marks show through at the end of the piece. Most of it will be covered, but it just covers up the white canvas and makes me feel ready to start the painting. I really enjoyed this bit. This is a Payne's grey and black paint, acrylic paint, and what I do is then splash and move it around. It was loads of fun. I love doing this, and it's a really great way to get you inspired and get some movement going and a bit of flow in your painting. I like to establish the darks first, and then I can come in later and add some more when they get covered, but at least I've got a basis and a little bit of a start of a composition. It's pretty intuitive at this point, not really thinking too much, just really going with the flow. I like to have it sort of touching the sides in a few places, going through the middle and out the other side. I love drips. You can see now that I absolutely love drips, so I got a lot of black drips going here, and it was a really great way again to start off this abstract. Laying down some colour now. I started with probably my very most favourite colour. It's an Ara brand turquoise blue metallic, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. You've got to see it in person to see its sheen. It's just beautiful. So I've got the metallic turquoise, and then I've got a metallic green, and I absolutely love that colour too. So just my aim at the moment is just to get the canvas covered with these beautiful colours. So I've done the blue and the green, and now I'm doing a sort of a peachy colour. Looks a bit Naples yellow there, but it's actually a peachy sort of hue. And as I said, just trying to get the paint to cover the canvas first off. So I'm making sure I pay attention to the sides as I go, because I wanted to try and have this one wrapping right around the edges and not having to come back at the end and try and match colours or try and just do a plain colour. So I'm into the Payne's grey now. Just putting some Payne's grey in that area there. And a bit more up here. So just getting some darker shapes in there as well. As you can see, most of that black's been covered up. You can still see the drips, thankfully. But yeah, using some Payne's grey to establish some darks there. Now's a really fun bit. I attached a paintbrush to a long stick, and now I'm using some black ink to do some mark making. It's so much fun. You have absolutely no control over where it goes. And it just has a mind of its own. It skips, it does all sorts of things. So that's a really fun thing to try if you love doing mark making. So I've got some fairly thickish sorts of marks there, and now I've switched to a fine liner brush and just adding some black ink in some finer lines. I like to get some variety in the marks, so not all the same thickness. So here you can see I'm having lots of fun again. I've got another brush here that actually is quite hard, and it's split into two, and so it gives you a bit of a double mark there, which was really interesting. So just getting some different black ink marks and textures down on the canvas there after the first layer of paint. So now I'm using some Liquitex acrylic artist spray cans to add some stencils. These are my own handmade, homemade stencils using my Cricut machine. So I've got some pods and just some organic nature type shapes there. So I'm just doing those just to provide some areas of interest. Some of them will get covered up and some of them will pop up. So now I've moved to a dark. It's a sort of a transparent black, and just putting some lines in. So I've got my white pods and nature shapes and then just some black marks. Okay, so now I'm using a white pencil and I'm just doing some more marks. I love mark making. I love to have all of those different little squiggles and textures showing through. So I'm adding white. I've got green, blue and dark and the peach, so getting some other colours down now, some whites, and this is a Neocolor II, so getting some reddish tinged colours on there. And as you can see, I'm having a lot of fun, not thinking, just going where it takes me. Yeah, very intuitive. So now what I'm doing, I've got the water out because the Neocolor IIs are water soluble. And I didn't want them to blend into the paint when I add that over the next layer. So I'm using the water to get that colour out and make them more vibrant. Getting, again, different sized shapes and textures on the canvas. Looks quite messy at this stage, but you need to go through this to then get to the final painting where you have so much interest. And that's, I love doing that in a painting. I love having lots of different things to look at. So just continuing, just trying to find all the Neocolor marks that I did. Going over a few, and as you can see, when I add a little bit more water, they become even more vibrant again. So just bringing out those Neocolor IIs. And now I'm going over that bit with some alcohol. Just getting some runs in there, some drips. And that's concentrating on the black ink. So I had water on the Neocolor IIs, and now I've got the alcohol on the black ink. Okay, so back to the paint again. So I'm just going over some of these marks. Now I'm trying to make sure that a lot of them still show through. And now I've added some red to the peach colour. I think it was a metallic red colour. And that's really nice because it's got the peach in it. It blends in really well with that, and it goes really well with the blue and the green. So I've just broken up that top right corner by adding that pink in there, and it's showing through underneath, covering it a little bit, but it's still showing through, so I'm not losing all of that effort that I've just made in the previous layers. So maintaining some of the peach and just doing another paint layer just to go over those marks. And this is Quinacridone Nickel Azo Gold, one of my favourite colours, and it goes beautifully with the colours already there as well. It's very transparent, so it's showing what's underneath, but you can lay it on more heavily and get that darker, rich, orangey gold colour. It's a beautiful colour. So just getting two places with that colour in. It's one of the minor colours that I'm using. So I tried to get some drips going there, but it didn't want to go. So now I'm just doing some mark making with a stick so that it actually brings out the colour underneath. And I'm using a scraper here which gets some beautiful, I love that area over the pink with a nickel azo gold. There's some beautiful wavy shapes there which looked really awesome in the final painting. So now I've got that working, and I've got some nickel azo gold by Golden drips happening. And that's really cool because it blends in with the colours down below and makes a lovely little area in that bottom right hand corner. So now I'm using some of the paint that I had on the palette there and just using my finger to add some dots. I love my dots, I love my drips, I love my mark making. So I've got the pink, some leftover pink colour, adding that into with some nickel azo gold dots as well. I love the finger dots because they have a little bit of texture from your fingerprint, so it's really interesting. So going back over the blue again, so covering up and making that a little bit quieter, but some of the marks are showing through just faintly. So having a bit of a quiet area there, and also a quietish area in the pink and the peach. So just getting some blue over all that mark, making that idea. Just to unify that a bit more and knock it back a little bit. So this layer is basically another layer of paint on the canvas, just covering a lot of the marks but leaving some of them showing through. So going over those pods there and having a bit of blue, but you can still see them. Just maintaining that wavy shape that I've had going on before and bringing in some more of the green. The metallic blue and green just look gorgeous together. Really showing you the colours of the ocean, the green and the blue. So here I'm just building this little bit up because I'm going to be doing some drips over this section. Just making some random marks with the paint and spraying on some water for the drips. Now I'm bringing in the white, so this is inspired by the ocean again. The white froth from the waves. So just getting some white in there and then adding some water to get the drips going. Looks really pretty there, I think. And I don't forget the side, I actually spray a bit of water on that side as well to get some white drips down there as well. Okay, so I'm just putting some colour back in down the bottom to cover up some of those marks and drips. And then I use a paper towel just to go through. I just wanted to get some of the blues back again because it mixed quite a lot with the quinacridone nickel azo gold drips. So just getting some stripes in there. So now I've mixed a colour that basically involves all of the colours that I'm using. And I just added, once I mixed them all together, I added a bit more blue in to make it a bit bluer, and that's what I've used for those big sponge dots. So just using a sponge dotter there. So I'm getting my second area of pink in now, and as I said, being careful to try and remember to get around those edges. So I'm using a silicone brush here. A little bit different to your normal brush, just getting some little textures in there around the edges. Just getting a few different shapes. Just getting a good coverage of the pink there. Getting it to go up to the edges of the water. And using another little scraper. Now I've got a skewer, and I started making marks, and then I just had the overwhelming desire to do some pods. So I started just scratching some pods into the paint, and I really like them, so I actually made the whole area into pods. And when you're looking at the painting close up, you can actually see the turquoise blue underneath. So it was really neat. And it's a good opportunity when you've put another colour on top, one colour on top of another, and that you can bring out the bottom colour. You don't have to lose it all together. You can actually bring it out by scraping through. And you can just either do random scraping or you can scrape something into it. So I've stood back and had a good look now, and I figured what I needed to do next was to get some darks back in. I've lost a lot of those dark areas, so here I'm adding some Payne's Grey and a bit of black, I think it was too. And yeah, just trying to get some dark shapes in, some different types of shapes. Okay, connecting that up through there with a thin line. Just using my finger just to blend it in a bit there. Just a little black mark there. So I just wanted a few darks in. I don't want to overwhelm it with the darks, but I just want enough there to have a contrast. Okay, a few drips, a bit of water and a few dark drips there. And a few dark drips there. Probably would have been better to lay it down for this because I didn't want those dark drips to travel too far, but they were pretty persistent. Okay, so I'm just trying to see what I've got. I think it's a Sakura marker, a Sakura paint marker. So I'm doing a few dark lines now, a bit of line work with the marker and some white. Again, the Sakura paint marker, absolutely love them. They're really good. Really go on really smoothly. So doing some dots now with the white Sakura marker, some small dots. Now I've got the Neocolor II in a peachy colour, a pinky peach, similar to the pink paint, and doing some dots to carry that through. So I've got the bigger pink dots up above and now some smaller pink dots. So again, always using variety with the marks. Okay, I think that's now an apricot coloured Neocolor II. So again, getting some different colours in there. I do love a lot of dots. My apologies. Okay, now I've got a white ink and it's quite thick. Too thick for a nib pen, so I've got a fine liner brush. And I do love doing these types of marks, I have to say. So working on the white ink now. Yeah, doing this sort of painting, it's just so much fun. You just enjoy every minute of it. So just getting some more line work in down the bottom there, just so that I haven't got it sitting in only one area of the painting. So just doing some different marks, some more elongated marks. Some white in there, so looking again for the contrast. Now I spilt a bit of ink there, and I decided to actually add 3 marks and get some drips, and they actually look a bit like jellyfish, so I was really happy with that. Beautiful white ink there. It's quite really nice and thick. Really gives you some good contrast with the other colours. And now I've decided to use that to add some more white and give a bit more depth to that ocean area, and that was a really good move because that really brought that bit alive. Okay, so now I'm back to some black ink with the fine liner pen, so getting some fine black marks in. So again, trying to balance up white marks, black marks, thin, thick. Right. So now at the end of the painting, I added some paint skins that I had done. This one has got some browns and quinacridone nickel azo gold and a bit of blue. So I popped that in there. You have to be so careful to get the air bubbles out as you do it. So use something to scrape and to get the air out. So now I've got this one I've been waiting to put up there. I really love the colours in that one. So these are just leftover paint from other paintings that I had on a palette. Covered them with golden gel gloss medium, and then waited till they dried, and now I can peel them off the palette and stick them onto a painting. So it's a great way to use up leftover paint, and it's a great way to add some real variety and interest to your painting. So this one had the blue and green in it, so that was awesome. Okay, so that's my finished painting. I've just shown you some close-ups there of all the different sections. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I love that one. Looks a bit to me like a tree there. And the close-up of the water, and you can see the pods. Yeah, it's a really beautiful painting. It's one of my favourites that I've done so far. I popped it on Facebook into an artist group locally, and lo and behold, the next morning it was sold. So I'm extremely happy and sad to see it go, but yeah, that's the end of my painting. So hope you've enjoyed it. Please click subscribe and thumbs up if you enjoyed watching this clip, and I'll try and make sure I have many more to come. Thanks for watching. Bye.